Today we will take up lithosphere. I think this is in class 7. Inside the earth, what is inside the earth? What are the different layers? What are the different types of rocks?
Interior of the earth.
Yes, ma'am?
Interior of the earth.
Yes, yes. Interior of the, I think class 7 only, ma'am.
7 only, ma'am. 7
Sixth and seventh, both class it is
second
there.
lesson, ma'am.
Yes.
Sixth and seventh it is there. Both classes.
Sixth, I think you don't do interior of the earth much.
Not interior of the earth,
Lithosphere,
but
hydrosphere, yes, all those major domains you do.
only
Domains.
Domains of 7th geography.
Yes, 7th we go into detail about the interior of the earth. So lithosphere, and we can also relate this with volcanoes. I think volcanoes, earthquake also in class 7.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes, ma'am, it is there. Volcano eruption.
So let us start with session 4, that is lithosphere. So what are the learning objectives? When we are teaching in a class also, I always tell children in the beginning, in fact, I write on the board, what are they expected to learn from that lesson? Because we may think children are small, but they have a lot of understanding. From the beginning, if we make it very clear to them, that from this lesson, you are understanding what is inside the earth, what are the interior, what are the different layers found in the earth's interior, how above the earth we have different atmosphere, all these layers are there in the atmosphere. Same way, you have different layers inside the earth. And we have to understand how land was formed. What are the factors which have led to the calamities, disasters which happen in the world, and how we can take actions, preventive actions for earthquake, flood, drought. All this we can make them understand and relate it. So they will understand what is expected out of them in that lesson and develop an interest in it. Then what are the pedagogies which we are doing? Generally in geography, similar pedagogies are there. Children through experience are learning through spatial sense, art integration, naturalist intelligence. So they develop an intelligence about how the nature is. And then we are also drawing diagrams, models, visuals to understand the interior of the earth. We can have models showing the interior of the earth, or we can show with simple example like how the onion is in layers, same way the earth is in layers, or very, very simple, which I feel is if you bring a boiled egg to the class. Of course, in DAV, we don't bring non-veg to class, but you can tell them to look at a boiled egg and understand how the layers are there and relate it to the earth. And assessment for this lesson, of course, you can ask them.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And we can say coconut also, ma'am.
Yes, coconut also. How the
Coconut or
outer layer
watermelon.
inside, yes. But coconut inside will be, you may have water if it is fresh coconut or something, but it will not be like egg is a perfect example, I feel, because the crust, the top calcium layer is very thin. Then you have the white one, then the yellow oak you have, which is perfectly, it matches with the earth. So we use different ways to explain, and if we use that way, explain to them, they find it interesting also. So first we can start with about the earth. So earth is our homeland. It's a dynamic planet. Why do we call it dynamic? What is the meaning? See, we may understand the meaning, but child from their level, it may be little tough. So dynamic means always we are having changes in the planet. Continuously something or the other, weathering will go on, earthquake, volcanoes, continuous changes are happening in the landforms are being continuously made, right? So that is why planet Earth is called dynamic. It is constantly undergoing changes inside and outside. When we tell this, we can ask them, what do you think are the changes which are happening inside the earth? What are the changes which are happening outside the earth? This will make them think, and you may be surprised by how much knowledge they have also. So inside our earth, what is inside our earth? What are the different layers which are found inside the earth? A very good way of understanding inside the earth is through the help of an onion. So just like an onion, the earth is made up of several concentric layers with one inside the other. Concentric means one after the others. So what is the interior of the earth? If this is the world, if we divide, we want to see what is inside the earth, we can understand very easily that on top you have the crust. Then you have the mantle. Then we have the core. See, detail, outer core, inner core, all that they can do later. In class 7, we don't need to go too much into detail and confuse them. At least they should have a general idea what is found inside the earth. So we have the crust, which is a thin layer on top. Then we have the mantle, then the outer core, inner core. And distances also, you can tell them to draw this. They should all draw this diagram and understand what is the distances of all these concentric layers. Now let us start with each one of this layer in very, very simple way. You have to make them understand that crust is the uppermost layer over the earth's surface, and it is thinnest of all the layers. It is the thinnest layer of the interior of the earth. Now this crust is made up of continental crust and oceanic crust. So two types. We see continents, we see oceans. When in class 6, they are studying already the domains, they are studied about continents and oceans. So in the world also, we have two different crusts found under these two layers, these two landforms. So crust is about 35 kilometers only on the continental masses and only 5 kilometers in the ocean floors. Now the oceanic crust mainly consists of silica and magnesium. That is why we also called it SIMA. It is therefore called SIMA. Si stands for silica and Ma is taken from the word magnesium. So the main mineral constituent of the continental mass is silica and aluminium. So it is the short form of it is Sial. So it is thus called Sial. Si stands for silica, Al stands for alumina. So this is a picture which very, very clearly shows that the crust, here you can see oceanic crust and continental crust. Then we have upper mantle, lower mantle, outer core, inner core. And they all have different distances. So below the crust, we have the mantle. So just beneath the crust is the mantle, which extends up to a depth of 2,900 kilometers below the crust. Then third layer is the core. The innermost layer is the core with a radius of 3,500 kilometers. And it is mainly made up of nickel and iron. That is why in brief it is called knife. Ni for nickel, Fe for iron, that is ferrous. And the central core has very high temperatures and pressure. So then we can, in class, we can ask them to do the diagram and label it also. So they can label and color each layer of the earth and then describe each layer below in brief. They can describe it also. One sentences on each layer. So how they will do it? They will write crust, mantle, core. Crust in one sentence, we are asked to explain, it is the uppermost thinnest layer of the earth. Mantle, this is just below the crust and is 2,900 kilometers thick. And core is the innermost layer of the earth, which is divided into inner and outer core. Now, what is the shape of the earth? Now, what fruit does the earth resemble? So they can make a list just for fun activity. So watermelon, orange, apple, guava, muskmelon. So what do these fruits look like when they're sliced? So when any of these fruits, we cut them, we see that it looks this is, see how a watermelon, if it is cut, we can see how the different layers are there. So just to make them understand the concept of layers, we can ask them to bring a fruit and cut in the class. Now, another fun activity. What is the thinnest layer of the earth? Yes, anybody?
Crust.
Yes. Crust.
Crust.
The innermost layer of the earth,
Core.
constituent minerals of the
Cl,
continent
ma.
crust,
Cl,
silica and
alumina,
constituent mineral of the core.
knife, ma.
Knife.
So
Knife.
nickel and
Knife,
Nickel and
knife,
depth
Nickel and
of
iron.
mantle,
iron.
2,900.
2,900.
Yes.
900.
So mark the items that form a part of lithosphere. So what are the part of lithosphere? You can just give a table like that, make them think and mark it.
Core,
Whatever is
upper
found in,
mantle.
yes,
Upper mantle, mountains, ocean floors, human
right. Rocks also, that is also part of lithosphere.
rocks. Yes,
Right.
yes.
So
rocks.
this is the answer. The thinnest layer of earth is crust. The innermost layer of the earth is inner core. Constituent minerals of continental crust is silica and alumina, sorry. Constituent minerals of core is nickel and iron. Depth of mantle 2,900 kilometers. And what do we find in lithosphere? Core, upper mantle, rocks, mountains, and ocean floor. Now, did you know the crust forms only 0.5% of the volume of the earth? 16% consists of mantle and 83% comes from makes up the core. So these are some interesting facts. I think these are in the books also. The deepest mine in the world is in South Africa and it is 4 kilometers deep. In search of oil, engineers have dug a hole about 6 kilometers deep there. Now, to reach the center of the earth, you will have to dig a hole of 6,000 kilometers deep on the ocean floor, which is not possible, right? So, with some facts which will make them think. Now, what is a rock? So that brings us to the end of what are the different concentric layers found in the interior of the earth. Next, we will start with what are rocks? So what is the definition of rock? What do you understand by rock? It is any natural mass of mineral matter that makes up the earth's crust. So it can be, if you observe a rock, you can see that you can feel the texture. What do you mean by the? Sometimes children are not very sure of the meaning of these words. So texture, when you touch it, feel, what you get is a texture. So it can be rough to touch, it can be smooth to touch. Then shape, what do you mean by shape? Round, oval, polygon, how do they look like? Luster means the shine, whether it is shining or is it dull. Then color, this they will understand. Size also, and other things you can have hard or soft. So we can take a rock to the class and ask them to explain what are the different things which they can understand by looking at that rock and by touching it. So rocks and minerals. What are rocks and minerals? The earth's crust is made up of various types of rocks. You have variety of rocks. Any natural mass of mineral matter that makes up the earth's crust is called a rock. Now, rocks can be of different color, size, texture. They will vary from each other. Now, rocks are made up of different types of minerals. So, minerals, what are the minerals? They are naturally occurring substances which have certain physical properties and definite chemical composition. Now, minerals are very important to humankind. Why? Because we use them as fuel. We use them coal, petroleum, natural gas. All these are minerals. So let us see the uses of rocks. The hard rocks are made for used for making roads, houses, and buildings. Stones are used in many games. Children play games. In ancient times, they used to play games with stone. For example, 7 stone, pittu, hopscotch, 5 stones. All these were used in olden times. Rocks are used in making monuments. You have the Red Fort. We have the Taj Mahal. You can ask them, what is Red Fort made up of? It's red in color, but sandstone. Taj Mahal, what was Taj Mahal made up of? White marble. So the different types of rocks are there. There are 3 major types of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic rocks. Now each rock, that word, when they chose the word igneous, when we choose the word sedimentary, based on their qualities, they have been chosen. So the word igneous, all the 3 words, they have origin. The first word, igneous, means it's a Latin word which means fire. Ignis means fire. So the origin of the igneous rocks are fire. Sedimentary rocks, Latin word which means sedimentum, which means to settle down. So when layers of rocks or sand, they settle down, they become sedimentary rocks. And the third is metamorphic rock. The word metamorphic means to change. Meaning is to change of form, to metamorphose, right? It means meaning change of form. Now, igneous rocks, they are Latin word, ignis meaning fire. So how did they originate? So when the molten magma cools, when it becomes cool, it becomes solid. So they have originated from below the earth, from the core, and it is in magma form. But when it cools, when it tries to come out, it cools and finally becomes solidified. So rocks thus formed are called igneous rocks, and they are also called primary rocks, main rocks, because they're base of all other rocks. There are 2 types of igneous rocks, one which are found inside the earth. They cool inside the earth, and one is found outside the earth. So they come out in the form of volcanoes and they cool down. They are called extrusive igneous rocks. So extrusive igneous rocks cool quickly because they have come out. And as a result, these rocks are fine grained or has lack of crystal growth. But intrusive igneous rocks are formed from magma that cools slowly, and as a result, the rocks are coarse-grained. Now, intrusive igneous rocks, you can show them pictures if possible. When I was in school, I remember we used to have, in the lab, we used to have different types of stones, and teacher used to bring them to class and explain each one to us. So that was very interesting also. So one example of intrusive igneous rock is granite. Now, sometimes the molten magma cools down deep inside the earth only. It can't come out. Solid rocks so formed are called intrusive igneous rocks. And since they cool down slowly, they form large grains. Granite is an example of such a rock. Grinding stones used to prepare paste or powder of spices which we are using at home, and grains are made of granite. Now, extrusive igneous rocks, lava is actually fiery red molten magma coming out from the interior of the earth onto its surface. So when this molten lava comes onto the earth's surface, it will cool very fast because it has come out and it becomes solid. Now, rocks formed in such a way on the crust are called extrusive igneous rocks, and they are very fine grained. For example, basalt. Now, Deccan Plateau is made up of basalt rocks. So when we say Deccan Plateau is made up of basalt rocks, that means they have been formed by the lava. Solidification of lava means once upon a time, definitely we had a volcano here. Next, we have sedimentary rocks. Now, rocks roll down when the rivers are flowing. Rocks are brought down. Rocks roll down, crack, and hit each other. And they are broken down into small fragments. These smaller particles are called sediments. Now, these sediments are transported and deposited by wind, water, etc. These loose sediments are compressed. So when you leave the layers one top here, you can tell if you are putting lot of books together, one below the other. What will happen? The book right at the bottom has to face all the pressure of the books which are placed on top. So same way, the sediments are slowly depositing one above the other. And these loose sediments are compressed and hardened finally to form layers of rocks. Now, these types of rocks are called sedimentary rock. For example, sandstone is made from grains of sand. These rocks may also contain fossils of plant. Now, what are fossils of plant? See, plants, animals, they will die. And when this loose soil will flow and deposit on them slowly, layer after layer, year after year, you will have deposition on the dead plants or animals. And finally, because of the pressure created by these sedimentary deposits, these plants and animals will become fossil. They will remain embedded in that soil. Now, sedimentary rocks, see how they can do in class also some activity on this. So you can tell them to put slightly wet blue paper, one on top of another, and let it dry. Now put a few of lightly wet, light green paper on top of the blue stack. Let it dry also. You can put a few books on top to create pressure for the papers to stick together. Put little glue and some pencil sharpener, dry leaves, flowers in between the paper. So they will see how they get embedded. So this is a very easy way to explain sedimentary rock formation. Metamorphic rocks, how can we explain? You can ask them to make a laddu, take some sand with some pebbles, mix with water and glue if required, and press it together, heat it if required. So this way they can understand how rocks over due to pressure and heat, they form metamorphic rocks. Igneous rocks melt wax and make a rock of wax. Put some colors and other stones in the melted wax to bring in variety. So what are the important facts that we are learning? So igneous and sedimentary rocks can change into metamorphic rocks under great heat and pressure. For example, clay changes to slate. Limestone, due to heat and pressure, changes to marble. So sedimentary rocks, due to heat and pressure, will become metamorphic rocks after some time. Now, what are the uses of rocks? So limestone, what is its color? We can give them, these are some commonly used rocks. And what are the category they come under, and what is their color, how they are used, and what is fact about it. So limestone is a sedimentary rock. It's white in color, and we can make cement from it. What about coal? That is also sedimentary rock. It is black in color, and it is used to light fires and generate electricity. Chalk, white in color, that is also sedimentary rock. It is used for writing. It breaks, wears away very fast. Sandstone, it is red in color. It is useful to build, is used as building materials. So these are some common examples of sedimentary rocks which we are using in our daily life. Next, igneous rock, pumice stone. Somebody just said you use for beauty purpose. It is gray in color. It is used as a bath scrub, and it floats in water. Granite, it is pink in color. It is used for a lot of building purposes also. Next, metamorphic rocks, you have slate, which is gray in color. It can be used for roof material. And marble is white in color, is used for making statues. So these are different uses of rocks which we are seeing regularly in our life. Now name a use for the following rocks. So if we can give these rocks in class, these names, and tell them to name at least one use of these rocks. So slate. Yes, how was slate used for?
Roofing material.
Roofing material, right. Stone slabs.
Granite. Is it
Diamond.
granite? No?
Granites, no.
No.
Diamond.
Stone slab.
Diamonds making
Ah.
jewelry.
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 Granite.
Ornaments.
Yes.
Granite
Construction.
for
Granite.
flooring tiles.
Construction, sir.
Clothing.
Flooring.
Marble.
Marbles also.
Construction.
Flourishing the
Statues.
house.
Statues and
And
building purpose also.
building
For
purpose.
those also we use. Ruby. Ruby is another type of
Ornaments.
Precious
The
stone.
ornaments we can
Ornaments.
make ornaments.
right. So what rock would you use to make the following? A statue,
Marble.
marble, a wall,
Marble.
Hot stones.
Marble.
yes, a piece of jewelry,
Precious.
Ruby.
Diamond or
Ruby,
ruby.
ma'am.
gold,
The
amethyst,
9 kinds of stones.
yes. Kitchen worktop.
Granite.
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 So some simple things we can do in class and make them think also that what are the different uses we can have. Now, rocks are used in construction, for manufacturing substances, for making medicines. Can you give an example of how rocks can be used to make medicine?
Gold and silver and gold we are using in medicine, ma'am.
Any other rocks we are using for medicine?
Tanga Pushpo.
Not
Yes.
that only I said in
You said in English, I told in Tamil.
comment.
I will learn Tamil also now. Right, ma'am. Thank you, Uma ma'am.
Calcium, ma'am.
Definitely, for us, very important. For
Very important calcium we are using now, ma'am.
yes, ma'am. Then hard rocks are used to make building and roads. Limestone is used to make paper, glass, etc. Now we come to rock cycle. Now, rock cycle. This, when we are teaching rock cycle, we can just make them remember what was the water cycle. How water cycle is formed, how the water moves from one stage to the other. Same way, they can be explained or related to rock cycle. So what is rock cycle? This is a process of transformation, changing of the rock from one to another under certain conditions in a cyclic manner, which is known as rock cycle. Now, what are the different processes which take place? If you can ask the children to explain the diagram. If they look at, we draw this type of diagram on the board, number 1 is magma. Can anybody want to explain this? The process of the rock cycle. So what are the different stages which are taking place here and how we finally get the rock cycle? Yes, ma'am, anybody? Sabin, ma'am, you want to try?
1 o'clock I'm having class, so let me. Okay, I will explain, ma'am.
Okay, you're having class, ma'am.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. 1 o'clock I am having class, so I'm hearing
Oh.
the class, having my lunch also.
Okay, no problem.
I don't want to miss this also, that also. That's why. Very sorry.
two in one work you're doing, ma'am, multitasking.
I don't want to miss anything. That's
Right, ma'am. Okay, ma'am, you carry on, have your lunch, no problem, ma'am. Anybody else can explain?
Magma, ma'am, shall I?
Yes, ma'am.
Magma, when magma becomes igneous rocks.
So magma, due to the heat and pressure, comes out in the form
As
of lava, then solidifies inside or outside the earth, whatever, and forms.
and forms igneous rocks. When
Yes.
the igneous rocks are broken into pieces and settle in one places, it is known as sediment. First, it becomes sediment and then it becomes sedimentary rocks. When the igneous and sedimentary rocks are subject to heat and pressure, again and sedimentary rocks are subject to heat and pressure. They change into metamorphic rocks.
Right. ma'am.
Again, due to pressure and heat, this metamorphic, again magma, again as usual magma to igneous, igneous to sediment, sediment to sedimentary rocks, again sedimentary to metamorphic rocks. This is the like water cycle only, it is going up and down.
Right. Water cycle
Something I
also
want to
we can
add, ma'am.
explain.
Sometimes
Yes, ma'am.
igneous rock also it is changing because of pressure and other things to directly metamorphic or sedimentary also like that. Sedimentary it may change to igneous because of the it is a cycle, and it may change to metamorphic also.
Right. That is why
Yeah.
it forms a rock cycle. So
Yeah.
any of these can change into metamorphic rock. Either directly igneous can become metamorphic, sedimentary rocks can become metamorphic rocks also, right? So when the molten magma cools, it solidifies to become igneous rocks. We have already studied, you have intrusive igneous rocks, we have extrusive igneous rocks also. These igneous rocks are broken down into small particles that are transported and deposited to form the sedimentary rocks. Now, when igneous and sedimentary rocks are subjected to heat and pressure, they will change and form metamorphic rock. So this is a process of rock cycle. Now the metamorphic rocks, which are still under great heat and pressure, they may melt to form the molten magma. So see how the cycle continues. It is not ending at metamorphic rock. So this molten magma again can cool down and solidify into igneous rocks, and this way the process goes on. So this is a process of rock cycle, and continuously we are having rock formations every time. This is happening continuously all over the world. Now, so igneous rocks, due to weathering, they will form sedimentary rocks. Sediments are compacted, pressed and compacted into sedimentary rocks. Then due to heat and pressure, we have metamorphic rocks. So we can ask the children to show the rock cycle in this way. So we can explain that how each rocks are related. So due to, if we try to understand this diagram, so metamorphic rocks, if they melt, they become magma. This magma, when it cools, it becomes igneous rocks. Again, igneous rocks, due to weathering and erosion, can change to sedimentary rocks. Sediments can compact and cement and form sedimentary rocks. Again, sedimentary rocks under heat and pressure can change to metamorphic rocks. So this cycle is continuously happening around us, and metamorphic rocks, again, due to weathering and erosion, can become sedimentary rocks, or igneous rocks under heat and pressure can directly become metamorphic rocks also, right? So we can ask them to complete this diagram also, and this will make them remember the rock cycle better, right? So igneous rocks, this is how they will do. The previous one was like this. So when they are doing, once we give them, it's like a puzzle for them in class, then we'll tell them to fill up this, sorry. So igneous rocks, due to erosion, turns into sediment. This sediment, due to compaction, will form sedimentary rocks. Again, sedimentary rocks after erosion can become sediments also. So these are all interchangeable. Again, sedimentary rocks under heat and pressure becomes metamorphic rocks. Metamorphic rock can melt and become magma, or can get eroded and become sediments also. So this is how the process goes on and on. Now, so we can have a small quiz in the class at the end. How are igneous rocks formed? How are sedimentary rocks formed? What are the metamorphic rocks? Which type of rocks have fossils in them? And what are the two types of igneous rocks? You can ask them to discuss. You can have a discussion in class, and you can wind up your session on that. So how are igneous rocks formed? When molten magma cools, it becomes solid, forming igneous rocks. How are sedimentary rocks formed? When rocks break, they form sediments. They compress and harden to form sedimentary rocks. What are metamorphic rocks? Igneous and sedimentary rocks change due to heat and pressure, forming metamorphic rocks. Which type of rock has fossils in them? Sedimentary rocks. What are the two types of igneous rocks? Intrusive and extrusive igneous rocks, right? That brings us to the end of today's class.